They're in California. They're in some more territory. And WrestleMania is coming next year to Vegas. That's not too far. So what they did on Raw, they gave those people the opportunity to see the change, the title change there, and they love Jey Uso. Now you tell me those people right there won't drive all the way to Las Vegas to see WrestleMania.
Teddy, I want to bring up something before we get into some of the topics for tonight. I saw where WWE now is going to go to a reduced amount of live events. They're going to scale down over the next few years from 300 down to 250 live events, down to 200 live events each year. So less house shows, which they say is not making tons of money for them. In some cases, they're probably lucky to break even. I understand from the financial aspect of the live events disappearing, but does that help or hurt the business? Because it seems like that means smaller towns like where I grew up and got to see WWE may not get to see those shows anymore because the town and the city is not big enough to hold the event.
Well, my take on that, I think the WWE is concerned about the small towns just as much as they are the big towns, but the small towns are not growing. And what they, back in the day, what they really used to run the house shows for was to pay the boys. That's how the boys got paid off the house shows. So that way they didn't have to mess with the WWE didn't have to mess with any other money. Also, I thought the house shows were good, especially going into WrestleMania. You'd have a good house show that night before, hype that WrestleMania up and you go right into that for a real big show. So, but I think what it is now, they've become so big, man, the big money-wise and TV-wise, till they just don't need those little bitty markets anymore. They're selling out right now everywhere they go. Business is good, so I don't think there's nothing against those small towns. It's just that it's a waste. They just don't have time to really take all that equipment in there, and set all that stuff up. It's just not really worth it.
I wonder if that's not an opportunity.
I also wanted to mention this too, Mac. Yeah. I didn't want to cut you off, but I was thinking about this. Remember, man, you talked about it, and I was saying right now is the perfect time for some indie group that has some money that can put into their product, and do it right. You got to do it right. Just like when I went to Texas and we did SW out there, we did it right. That's why we started selling out. So I think right now, if there's a good indie somewhere in Georgia, especially Georgia, Alabama, where the good indie shows are, I think if somebody started now, it'd really be good for the small territory.
Yeah, to me, I'm thinking that there's an opportunity, and that's just what I was about to say right before you mentioned that, is that by WWE not going to some of these smaller towns, that is an opportunity, a door wide open for another company, like you say,
yes,
that can travel those areas and fulfill the need of professional wrestling while exposing themselves to more eyes than they're getting right now.
And here's what you got to look at too. You know what I mean? Those small towns were good back in the day, but right now, with prices so high, and you know what I mean. Money is kind of hard out there right now. To some people. Yep. So some people just can't afford to to pay that kind of money. To really even go to a house show. So I think it's it's really best for everybody, because maybe now if you can't go to a house show, maybe you can save your money for the next big event that comes.
Yeah. And also, as you mentioned too, just a second ago, an indie group, especially independent wrestling, this is really an opportunity for you to step up and start drawing larger numbers, because if WWE and some of these larger groups are not coming into your towns anymore, the need for independent wrestling increases.
Those people want to see wrestling there. Okay, So I'm saying that would be, it's perfect for an indie group now to start running the Carolinas. You got Georgia, you got Tennessee, so I wouldn't, if it was me, I wouldn't go out of maybe a 300-mile radius. That's as far as I would go, 300 miles, and somewhere where it's easy for people to drive to, it's easy for your talent to drive. So it makes it, kind of comfortable for everybody.
You think you know all the wrestling stories? There's more you haven't heard yet. Join us on Backstage Pass.
And that also kind of opens up the door too. We've talked about this and touched on it occasionally on these shows, but to me, when you get this new opening of a possibility of independent wrestling or smaller groups, it just enhances the availability to the guys that have more working opportunities to go other places and make money. And that's why you want to see everybody flourish.
And the other thing too, man, with the indie groups now, they can get TV. I was just out there, a couple of weeks ago with Booker T, and I did his show, The Reality of Wrestling, and Booker sold out. I mean, they had to turn people away there. And he just signed a deal with CW, so he's on the CW network. So I went to my hotel room that night, got rested, getting ready to, get my flight the next morning. I turn on the TV, and there's Booker's show, his Reality of Wrestling. So he's on TV down there. He's on the CW network. So I congratulations to him, and I think everything with him is going to be great, man. It's going to work out good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next year or two brings in wrestling, because like I say, there's a lot of opportunities that are evolving simply because of the changes with WWE and what they're doing. And it just helps. Yeah. And usually when the business is doing good on that level, it's doing good on the independent level as well.
Exactly.
Let's talk about recent this past Monday night's Raw, Teddy. Main event, Jey Uso, is now the Intercontinental Champion, the new Intercontinental Champion, and his first ever singles title win. A great moment for Jey. Did you get a chance to see his celebration in the ring?
I saw the whole entire match. When I see Bronson Reed and Jey Uso in the ring, then that makes me want to stop and watch it, because I know I'm going to. Bron Breakker, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Bronson Reed, I had him on my mind because I was thinking about him and
Braun Strowman. There's a lot of Braun
Strowman last week, how they tore up Raw and everything, how good that was, man. So I was just thinking about that. But I could see that they were certainly having a good match. I don't think it hurt Bron Breakker at all. I don't think it did anything with him. I think he did business. He went out, he sold. They knew the timing was good. It was outstanding, man.
One of the things that I found odd about the match, and I loved every bit of the match, don't get me wrong, but the use of the spear, it got to be where, Bron Breakker, that was his big move, man. He could come off those ropes and spear like he just cut somebody in half. And you got Jey using the spear on him, and several times, and he's using the spear. It seemed to lessen Bron Breakker's dominance with the spear, almost as if they were trying to wipe that out of his arsenal and just kind of fade it away. Because if you're not careful, you'll have Bron Breakker using the spear, Jimmy Uso using the spear, and you've also got Roman Reigns, who, up until he comes back and wrestles again, has been using the spear. Does it get to be to a point where too many people have the same finisher?
Well, I don't think they're taking it away from him. You know what I mean? I agree with you. Too many people using spear, but that may be something that leads to that. You know what I mean? With all those guys, Breakker can always say that they took his move. So you can put it in a storyline, or there should be some conflict there, because you got three guys using the same finish. So it certainly should be some talk about that. Maybe the Raw general manager, Adam Pearce, there, maybe he can do something about that, or Nick Aldis on SmackDown. Maybe, that's something for him to do.
Did it surprise you that this is the first time that Jey Uso has won a singles title in almost what I believe is 15 years?
Well, you have to wait. Timing is everything. So, maybe back then it might have been his time, but somebody didn't want him to see him with it. But now you got somebody there that wants to see him with it. And you also got to look at it like this. They're in California. They're in Samoa territory. And, WrestleMania is coming next year to Vegas. That's not too far. So what they did on Raw, they gave those people the opportunity to see the title change there, and they love Jey Uso. Now, you tell me those people right there won't drive all the way to Las Vegas to see WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. And I'm happy to see Jey Uso in main event matches now. Because it wasn't just 2 weeks ago, Teddy. Maybe it was on this show or our show where we were discussing the fact that main event Jey Uso never was winning the main event after all this time. So finally to see him get that moment and the recognition of the work that he has pulled off in that ring. Go ahead.
Well, they don't give it to you when you want it. They give it to you when they want you to have it.
Yeah, very
That's
true.
how this
And which
works.
is always good too, because the fans, when you finally win, the fans let everybody else know you deserve it. That's usually the line you'll hear. That's because they have believed that for a long time. So when they finally win, they want everybody in the back to know that it's way past time and this guy does deserve it. And I love that about wrestling, because the fans sometimes can tell, it doesn't matter what you write in the back or what you think you're going to do when you get out in the ring. The fans may dictate that that's not what's going to happen in the future. And you got to be able to spin out of that really fast.